Welcome back to Beyond the Ballot AZ. I'm Tom Collins, Executive Director of the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission.
And I'm Gina Roberts, Voter Education Director.
Early voting for the 2026 primary election is already underway. If you prefer heading to the polls early, you can cast your ballot right now.
That's right, Tom. Voters have until July 17th, that's a Friday, the Friday before the election, to vote early in person. And that's your regular early voting. Otherwise, they can wait till Election Day, which is Tuesday, July 21st. But if they have some sort of emergency over that weekend, there's still options for them to vote.
And with that, we're also nearly at the end of our primary debate season. As the official sponsor of Arizona Debates, we hosted debates between federal, statewide, and legislative candidates.
That's right. We've had thousands of people across the state tune into these debates. And one of the things that's really exciting about the way Clean Elections host debates is that voters have the opportunity to ask the candidates questions directly. So we'll add a link to the show notes so you can watch the debates yourself. And, again, keep checking them out because it's a great way to stay informed right when you fill out your ballot.
We've had a great set of moderators, both in our broadcast debates for state and federal office and at the local level for legislative debates. We worked with well-regarded and award-winning journalists like Steve Goldstein and Danielle Lerner. And at the legislative level, we partnered this year with the Arizona Agenda, which is a local political and government news outlet that founded by Hank Stevenson, and he also moderates those debates along with his colleagues, Joe Ferguson in Tucson and other folks. The reporters who cover the legislature, the reporters who cover day-to-day campaigns, they're the reporters asking the questions there.
Let's get to the questions now. And Mr. Thompson, let me start with you. One aspect of the Corporation Commission probably gets the most attention has to do with rate requests from utilities. Before we get into any specifics, can you give us an idea of how you approach that, how you balance out the needs of consumers with the needs of utilities, and what's the process for you?
Surely there are many issues to get to tonight, and a recent survey by the Citizens Clean Elections Commission shows that Democrats in particular are very concerned about all aspects of education and support for it going forward. However, teacher pay topped that list, and so I want to start with that. Our state is consistently toward the bottom when it comes to teacher pay, and you mentioned our ongoing teacher shortage reaching crisis levels. So Dr. Reese, we'll start with you. What is your plan to address that issue, and how will you turn that plan into action?
Imagine a city council in your district wants to block a new ICE detention facility from being built within city limits, and say the legislature can override them. How would you vote? And let's start with you, Robert.
I want to talk about electability because one of you up here is going to go on to run against the current governor, Katie Hobbs, a Democrat in the general election. So, Mr. Biggs, we will start with you. What is the biggest difference between you and the other Republicans on this stage? And what evidence can you point to specifically that you can win over independents, who are a big part of the electorate here, and also suburban voters?
Shout out to our moderators because they have a very difficult role between balancing, as you said, they have their knowledge and experience of the issues and covering these important matters that impact the state, but they also have to, one, be willing to step up to the plate to do the research on the particular race, the candidates, come up with these, neutral, thoughtful questions, but also facilitate the debate in a way that it's fair for everybody, that we're really getting to the critical issues all within a certain time period. It's a lot to manage.
By the time we're done with this election in November, we will have put together basically 100 episodes of a live production. So far, has there been a moment or a thing you've learned through any of the debates that you've watched in the primary so far?
Okay, so as you noted, the primary debates so far, which means that the candidates who are debating one another, they're of the same political affiliation. To me, seeing the differences in how they would go about, getting to a certain result, that's what stood out for me. All three of these candidates might say they support X, Y, and Z, but it's really how are you going to get there that stood out for me. So I think those nuances are important, especially in a primary election, because the person that we choose, that we are nominating in the primary, they're the person who's going up against all the other candidates from all of the other political parties and the independents in the general election.
Well, great. Well, The other thing, we've spent a little time on this, June, is history. We had a couple of episodes about the history of the state. We talked about Route 66, and then we also talked about the 2016 gubernatorial election. What really was the key takeaway for you from that?
I know we've had some contested elections recently, and then we've talked about in that episode with Janie Adams on the transition of power, and that's come up recently too.
We launched Captain Activate issue 3 this month. Gina, who's Captain Activate?
Oh, Captain Activate is a rock star. He is our civic engagement superhero. And he was earlier this month, he was at Fan Fusion, which is phenomenal because we have thousands of people visiting the Phoenix Convention Center. Captain Activate was there trying to promote voting and civic engagement. If you don't know who Captain Activate is, if you have yet to be graced by his presence, reach out to Clean Elections. We'll mail you a comic book. He's our superhero for civic engagement and voting in the state. That's it for Beyond the Ballot Easy today. I'm Gina Roberts.
And I'm Tom Collins. We'll see you next week.